In today's video, I am going to cover topics such as escape sequences, typecasting, and type checking in Kotlin. Hello and welcome to Learn with Tam. I am Tariq Ali Mirza and my goal is to make you a kick-ass Android developer. If you are new here, I suggest that you watch this series from the beginning to get the most out of it. In the last couple of videos, I have introduced you to some of the basics of Kotlin. I'll continue that trend in this video and introduce you to topics like escape sequences, typecasting, type checking, and object. Please note, a comprehensive lecture on nullable types will be delivered to you on Monday. So, without further ado, let's jump right into our system and get started. To begin, open Android Studio. Now create a new project. We'll select No Activity and click on Next. I'll name my project Escape Sequence and More and click on Finish. In your Project Explorer, open the App folder, then open the Java folder. Then right-click on your package folder, select New and then select Kotlin file. Give a name to your file. Once your file is open, create the entry point function. In Kotlin, there are certain characters which when preceded by a backslash get a special meaning. Let's have a look at a couple of them. As you can see, I have written 3 print statements and each one of them has a separate escape sequence added to it. The first one is \n. When the letter n is preceded by a backslash, it becomes a new line character, which implies that I am a line will be printed as is and then \n will be replaced with a new line and I am a new line will be printed after that. In the second print statement, I am a sentence will be printed and then there will be a tab and then with a tab will be printed. In the third sentence, you will be replaced with will be printed, but you will not be able to see it because we have put a carriage return in it. As soon as carriage return is encountered, the cursor moves back to the first position in this line and prints I. So all you will be able to see is the letter I. Let me run this program so that you can see the output for yourself. As you can see, I am a line was printed as is and then the cursor moved to the next line and I am a new line was printed. In the next print statement, I am a sentence is printed as is and then a tab is introduced, even though we are not being able to see the tab over here. Let me add another tab so that it becomes clearer. And now I'll rerun this program. Now it is a bit more clear. As you can see, I am a sentence was printed as is, then a tab was introduced and then with a tab was printed as expected. In the third print statement, you will be replaced with was entirely washed out because we had a carriage return in it and I is the only letter that is visible in the console window. We can also use backslash to escape some special symbols and characters that have a special meaning within a string. Let me show you an example. As you can see in this print statement, I was able to use double quotes inside a string with the help of backslash. Let me show you what happens when I don't use a backslash and try to use a double quote in a string. In Kotlin, a string begins with a double quote and ends with a double quote. So it is impossible to add double quotes within a string because as soon as you add a double quote within a string, the string is considered to be terminated unless we use a backslash. And now you must be wondering, what if we want to use backslash within a string? Let us try that. As you can see, Kotlin does not look happy with the fact that we added a backslash within a string. It is saying that we are using an illegal escape sequence, but we were just trying to use a backslash. In such situations, we can use another backslash to escape this backslash. Let me show you how. And that's it. That's how your problem is solved. So, whenever you want to use special characters within a string, you escape their special meaning using backslash. Let me show you another example. As you can see, on line number 11, I am trying to type my income is $50 and in this I am trying to type $50 as a single word. But Kotlin thinks that I am trying to reference a variable named 50. So I will have to again make use of a backslash. And once again, backslash is helping me escape the special meaning of dollar. Let me run this so that you can see the output. As you can see, in the last line, my income is $50 was printed as is, and Kotlin is no longer complaining about the usage of dollar and 50 together. I can keep giving you more examples, but I think you get the idea. So let's move on to the next topic. Now that we have worked with variables in a couple of lectures, I think it is about time I told you that in Kotlin, all variables are objects. If you have worked with a programming language like JavaScript, you must already be familiar with the concept of variables being objects. But for everyone else, in simple terms, objects are types that have methods and properties attached to them. You will understand objects better once we are done covering classes. Until then, bear with me. For now, let me explain what I mean by showing you a couple of examples. As you can see, I created a variable named myVariable and stored a string into it. On line 17, I am simply printing the variable. On line 18, I am printing myVariable.length. That is, I am printing the value of the length property of my variable. On line 19, I am calling the to uppercase function on my variable. On line 20, I am calling the to lowercase method on my variable. And on line 21, I am calling the capitalize method on my variable. Let's run this program and see the output. But before that, I'll comment out all the previous print statements. As I have told you before, you can press Ctrl and / to comment and uncomment your code. Now, let me run this program. The first print statement simply printed hello everyone as it was stored within the variable. The second print statement printed the value stored within the length property of my variable. Let us check the length. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We have 15 characters stored within string. Therefore, the length of the string is 15. In the next line, everything becomes uppercase because we called the to uppercase method on the variable. So, we see hello everyone in all caps. In the next line, everything gets printed in lowercase because we call the lowercase method on our variable. It looks like the last method did not have any effect on our variable. However, that's not true. Let me change the value of my variable so that you can see the effect of the last method as well. I will change the first letter to lowercase and then comment everything else so that we can focus on the last print statement. And now let me run this. Even though our h was in lowercase, it is now showing up in the print statement as an uppercase h because the capitalize method returns a copy of the string with its first letter uppercase, or it returns the original string in case the string is empty or in case it already starts with an uppercase letter. In the previous case, our string was already starting with an uppercase letter, therefore capitalize did not touch it. The point of this exercise was to show you that even though we did not create the length property, we did not create the to uppercase function, to lowercase function, or the capitalize method, my variable already has these methods within it. We are accessing these methods and properties using the dot notation, which means that these methods and properties are very much part of the variable. But we just created a string which should only contain text. So, where do all these properties and methods come from? In Kotlin, all variables are objects, that is, they have methods and properties already assigned to them. In case of string, we have methods like to uppercase, to lowercase, capitalize, and length. Now, I will show you a way in which you can find all the methods and properties that are attached to your variable. As you can see, as soon as I typed dot after the name of the variable, I got access to a huge list of methods and properties to choose from. So here's a list of all the methods that you can call on my variable, as well as all the properties that my variable has. As you can see, it is a huge list. We have already used length, capitalize, to lowercase and to uppercase. Now you know where you can find additional methods if you want to use them. Let me show you a couple of more examples. On line 22, I am using the contains method on my variable to check if it contains the word every. Let's run this program, but first I will comment out all the other print statements so that we can focus on the last print statement and click on run. As you can see, the answer is true because hello everyone does contain the word every in everyone. Please note, there are a lot of methods and a lot of properties to cover in a single video. So I'd suggest whenever you want to find out which properties and methods are available on the variable, you can just type the name of the variable and then press a dot, and you will be pleased to see that all the methods and the properties that are available on your variable are shown in a single list. You can scroll through this list and see if you would like to use some method or property in your programs. In the previous lecture, I told you that the Kotlin compiler is more than capable of inferring the type of a variable from its value. But as you will find out, that's not always the case. Let me give you an example. As you can see, I created a variable named unknown on line 25 and stored the value 10 in it. On line 26, I created a variable named number of type integer and tried to store the value of unknown within that variable. Even though the value within our unknown variable is 10, which is an integer, Kotlin is still complaining that there is a type mismatch, which means that Kotlin is having a hard time understanding that what we have stored within this variable is nothing but an integer. So in such cases, we will have to help Kotlin a bit, and we do that by using typecasting. Let me show you how. I just told Kotlin that please save the unknown variable as an integer, and Kotlin stopped complaining. Let me now print the value of variable number so that you can see that everything is working as expected. Now I'll run the program. As you can see, the compiler did not complain about a type mismatch and the value printed was also accurate, which means that everything is working as expected. I use the keyword as to perform typecasting, and if you want to check the type of a variable, you should use the keyword is to perform type checking. Let me show you how. On line 30, I am asking Kotlin whether number is integer or not. Let me run the program so that you can see the output. As you can see, the last output is true, which means number is an integer. Let me now perform another type checking. Let's run this program and see what the output is. As you can see, on line 31, when I try to print the result for unknown is string, the result comes down to false. Now that we have covered these topics, we have completed the basics of variables and data types in Kotlin, and better prepared to dive deep into nullable types in the next lecture. That's all for today's video. As always, feel free to share your valuable thoughts and feedback in the comment section. If you liked the video, smash that like button. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to receive timely updates of all future uploads. I'll see you in the next one.